Hi, Colin with Diode Dynamics. Today in the garage, we're going to be showing you how to install our Stage Series Bronco Fog Pocket Kit for the 2021 and up Ford Bronco with the modular steel bumper. Let's get started. We designed this kit to provide 3 lighting functions: road legal fog light, ambient backlight elimination, and bright off-road lighting. With the included wiring harnesses, you can switch between these functions with ease. The fog lights are designed to work just like a factory installed fog light, turning on automatically whenever you switch the headlights on, and you have the fog light switch turned to the on position. The off-road lights and backlights are controlled manually using either the included 3-way toggle switch or your factory auxiliary switches. Before we get started, let's go over everything that's included in the kit. You'll receive 2 bolt-on brackets, 2 SS3 pods, 4 SSC2 pods, 2 3-way splitters, 1 dual output fog harness, 1 heavy-duty dual output harness, and then your hardware. Let's get them installed. To start our installation, we're going to be installing our brackets and our pods. To do this, we're going to grab a T40 Torx bit, because we'll be removing 3 factory bolts on the top of this bumper cutout here. Now we can install our bracket by reusing the same hardware we just took off. When mounting it up, it's important to note that the L will be on the driver's side and the R will be on the passenger side. And when you're looking up at the bracket, the DD logo will be properly oriented. Stepping away from the front of the vehicle, we can assemble our pods to our bracket, and we'll start with our SS3. To do this, we'll slide our bracket over the back of the SS3, lining up the holes on the bracket to the holes on the side of the SS3. Then we could drop in our provided nuts in the back of the SS3 with the nylon lock ring facing the inside on either side. Then we could thread in our provided 5/32 Allen screws and washers through the side of the bracket and into the SS3, leaving them hand tight to save room for adjustment later. With our SS3s assembled, we can now assemble our SSC2. To do this, we'll slide the bracket over the back of the pod. Then we could pass our longer 5/32 bolt through the side of the bracket, through the back of the SSC2, and out the other end. Finally, we could thread on our lock nut with a nylon lock ring facing the outside. Coming back to the front of our vehicle, we can now mount our pods to our vehicle bracket. Our innermost slot here will be for our SS3, and the rest of the slots will be for our SSC2s. You can mount up the SSC2s however you see fit. However, for our application, we'll be using the middle slots. It's going to be difficult to show you this in the bumper, but what we're going to do is pass our carriage bolt through our standard SS3 bracket. Then we'll pass our carriage bolt through the bottom of our vehicle bracket, and then from the top, secure it with our washer, our lock washer, and our nut. Then we can repeat that same process for both of our SSC2s. Once we have our pods installed on the driver's side, we can repeat the same steps on the passenger side and then move on to our wiring. There's 2 different ways you can wire up this kit, by either adding switches or, if your vehicle has them, using the OEM auxiliary switch bank. This vehicle does have an OEM auxiliary switch bank, so we're going to be using those. We could start by placing the fog relay and the off-road relay near the fuse box under the hood, and run an output wire for each harness to the fog pocket on each side of the vehicle. Now we could wire up our fog light harness. Since we are using the OEM auxiliary switches, we won't be using our included fog light switch wiring or the battery input wire. We're going to unplug the battery input wire and replace it with the power input wire. Then, using a standard crimp tool, connect this to an OEM auxiliary switch wire on your vehicle. For our application, we went with auxiliary switch 3, which is a violet and green 10 amp wire. Now we can connect our fog light activation input wire to the activation input of your choice. We recommend tapping this to either the side marker or the low beam so that when your switch is in the on position, they turn on and off automatically with your parking light or your low beam. We're going to be tapping to our side marker power wire. In order to get to our power wire, we're going to need to remove the fender flare by turning the 5 fasteners and pulling the fender flare away from the vehicle. Then we can use a Phillips head screwdriver and a plastic trim removal tool to remove one plastic push clip, and then grab a 7mm socket to remove one screw. Now we can pull our fender liner back and locate our side marker power wire. Next we can disconnect our headlight harness. We can't fit the camera in there to show you this, but essentially you're just going to compress this tab and pull away. Then you're going to want to locate your green and brown wire. That's our side marker power wire, and that's what we'll be tapping to. Then we can close our T-tap over the wire and secure it down with a pair of needle nose pliers. We can finish that off by routing our fog light activation input wire down behind the headlight and plugging it into the T-tap. Once that's connected, we can plug in our headlight harness and put everything back on by reversing the steps we used to take it off. If your vehicle did not come with an OEM switch bank, you want to route the included switch harness into the vehicle and then run your activation input wire to a power source. Coming back into the engine bay, you'll notice there's 2 wire leads left on the fog light harness. Our orange deactivation wire, which for this kit we won't be utilizing, so we'll tie up away from any hot or moving parts, and then our ground wire, which will connect to the negative terminal on the battery. While we're at the battery, we can also go ahead and connect the power and ground for our off-road harness. To do this, we'll grab a 10mm socket and loosen the nut on the negative terminal and slide in both of our ground spade connectors, and we'll do the same thing with the power wire on the positive terminal. Since we're also connecting our off-road wire to our OEM auxiliary switches, we'll want to disconnect our 3-way switch adapter wire and replace it with our OEM auxiliary switch adapter wires. We'll connect our yellow lead to our brown wire, which is auxiliary switch 4. Then we'll connect our backlight lead to the blue and orange wire, or auxiliary switch 5. Our off-road harness is pulling power directly from the battery, so you can connect those wire leads to whichever OEM auxiliary switch you would like. Our last step in the wiring process is to connect our 3-way splitter harness. You'll want to connect the section marked with a red flag into our SS3s. That's our fog light harness. The other 2 will go into the SSC2s. If you flip it over to the other side, you'll see a 4-pin and a 2-pin connector. You can't install these incorrectly, so just go ahead and connect them to their respective connectors. With everything plugged in, we can turn our lights on and test for functionality. Then we can secure up any excess wiring away from any hot or moving parts. Finally, we can make our final aiming adjustments. Once we're happy with where everything is aimed, we can go back and tighten everything down with a 5/32 Allen and a 13mm wrench. As you can see, with our Stage Series Bronco Fog Pocket Kit installed, not only will you get a bright off-road light, we will also get an independently controlled road-legal fog light that functions just like a factory fog. If you're looking to pick up some Stage Series fog lights for your vehicle, or any of our other products, visit our website at diodedynamics.com or use our dealer locator tool to find a dealer near you. If you're looking to stay up to date on any of our new products, make sure you subscribe and click that notifications bell below. Thanks for watching.